A, meeting opening. A1, call to order. A2, pledge of allegiance. Thank you. Moving to A3, adoption of the meeting agenda. Are there any consent agenda items that a board member would like to have discussed as an action item? Hearing none, do I have a motion that the governing board adopt the meeting agenda?
I move that we adopt the meeting agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Oropesa. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. De Ocampo. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion passes. Moving to B, presentation, B1, COVID board update. Mr. Rivera?
President Conchos, members of the board, Dr. Maez, staff, and guests, thank you for the privilege of your time this evening. Okay, Alhambra schools are an important part of the local community and the neighborhoods they serve. Throughout the pandemic, Alhambra employees have worked faithfully to provide high-quality, essential educational services to our community in the safest way possible. And during this time, the district has continued to prioritize the health, safety, and well-being of our students and staff. And despite the challenges of COVID this school year, our classrooms and offices have continued to provide learning and working environments that include a variety of layered mitigation practices in an effort to protect all of us from the virus. As we have worked to navigate the challenges of the pandemic this year, we have understood how important it is to keep our schools and offices open and providing essential services to students and community members, to offer convenient and regular testing and vaccination clinics, to layer multiple COVID mitigation strategies to help limit the spread of the virus, to support those with COVID-like symptoms or infections at home, and to monitor data regularly and carefully, using it to guide our decision-making. As a district and community, we are now in the midst of a transition that is taking us in a positive direction. And like the rest of the nation, we are moving from COVID being a disease of pandemic proportion to COVID being an endemic respiratory disease in the population. So to better understand this transition, let's take a moment and let's take a look at a couple of definitions. A pandemic occurs when a disease spreads unchecked through a population with limited resources available to the healthcare system to treat or address it. While an endemic disease is always present in the background, and our healthcare systems are more prepared to manage, treat, and cope with it. Examples of infectious endemic diseases are tuberculosis, influenza, various types of pneumonia, and other common infectious diseases. And we are now transitioning into the endemic phase of COVID. Throughout the pandemic, we have kept our focus on the data. In the next two slides, we'll take a look at some of the data that we have used as a district to guide our recommendations and our decision-making. But first, as we transition to COVID becoming endemic, our approach is to manage the disease in a different way, to manage the impact of the virus on Alhambra. And that transition will cause changes, and we will incorporate a new type of data into the mix. This slide represents data that we have used this school year to guide our decision-making. It shows the number of COVID-19 cases per 100,000 population in our local community on a weekly basis, beginning July of last year and running through March of this year. Please note the Omicron surge as it peaked around January 20th, followed by a dramatic drop in cases since then. Also, you'll notice the pause in a number of district activities and events in late December and early January as case numbers rose and we took action to protect our students and staff. As indicated by the red line on this graph, you'll note that it goes literally straight up between January 6th and approximately January 20th. This next data slide shows the percentage of positive COVID tests in our local community. And I want to emphasize this comes from our local community. These numbers are by the week, beginning July of 21 and running through March of this year. Similarly, note the dramatic increase in early January as positive case numbers quickly increased in our area, followed by an impressive and rapid drop in positive tests. And again, please note our district's decision made to pause a number of district activities events in late December and early January as a percentage of positive COVID tests quickly rose from 19.86% positive December 16th to 47.82% of COVID tests in our area coming back positive the week of January 27th. And as I just mentioned, a new data tool is now provided to us by the Centers for Disease Control and Maricopa County's Department of Public Health. This new data tool is known as COVID-19 Community Levels. Community levels developed by the CDC and recently adopted by our county will provide us with a new type of data. And going forward, this new data point will give us a glimpse into COVID's presence and prevalence in our area and its impact on our district and the Alhambra community, allowing us to continue providing data-driven guidance and recommendations. Now, we know that COVID-19 has not disappeared, but we have gotten better at protecting ourselves, better at managing the spread, and better at treating it. In order to determine the local COVID-19 community level, the CDC in Maricopa County look at a combination of three metrics: new COVID-19 admissions per 100,000 population in the local area over the past 7 days, the percent of staffed inpatient beds occupied by COVID-19 patients, and the total of new COVID-19 cases per 100,000 population over the last 7 days. Combining these 3 points of data into the COVID-19 community level will produce a level of localized risk. The level of local risk will continue to be reviewed weekly by our COVID-19 surveillance team. New COVID cases, hospital admissions, and hospital bed occupancy rates are evaluated and reported in order to determine the demands on our local healthcare system and the rate of disease spread and the impacts that result on local communities. As Alhambra adjusts to the transition that we are experiencing, a number of changes are occurring simultaneously. One of those changes will be modifications to our Healthy Teaching and Learning document, also known as our HTL. That document is currently under review and will be modified to reflect the changes that we are experiencing. And on this slide, you see levels of risk associated with the new COVID-19 community level data. Each level of risk on this slide, green, yellow, and orange, provides guidance to help individuals and organizations like ours to manage the virus appropriate to the local area and to a level of personal need. Our Alhambra HTL guidance document will soon reflect these new risk levels. COVID-19 community level data is the data and guidance tool that school systems are now asked to use in order to guide decision-making and management of the virus in their local areas. And in Alhambra, our surveillance team will continue reviewing the data and providing recommendations to our superintendents on a weekly basis, as we have done throughout this school year. As we move forward, we are working to provide the resources needed to support our students, staff, and our community members. To date, we have held 20 vaccination clinics since November of last year around the district, and more are scheduled in the coming weeks through June of this year. Unfortunately, our two Embry Health testing centers, one located at the Family Resource Center and one at the district office, which have been open throughout this school year, are now awaiting word on their ability to remain open and continue providing services. We hope they will receive the necessary future funding necessary to continue operating our two Alhambra locations. As we continue moving into 2022, it's a good time to look back, but continue moving forward. We've come through 2 challenging years, but there's also a lot for which we can be grateful. We pulled together, we took care of one another, and we prioritized the health and well-being of our students and our staff. And as we move forward, we'll continue to keep our eye on the data and be prepared to respond. And finally, as a result of the information shared earlier in this presentation, Alhambra's mask mandate will become optional on Monday, April the 11th. This decision is supported by our data and official guidance. Earlier today, our COVID surveillance team met, as they do each Thursday afternoon, to pull and analyze COVID-19 community level data the data that I spoke of earlier. And I'm very happy to report that this evening, our Maricopa County community level is identified as green, low risk. Some of the guidance for communities identified at low risk, such as ours, are to stay up to date with your COVID vaccines, to get tested if you have symptoms. For organizations, it's to provide access to vaccinations and testing. And for those of us who are immunocompromised, we're encouraged to have rapid tests readily available for use. Yesterday, front office and health office staffs received training to acquaint them with COVID protocols, recently updated to reflect the changes that will result as we move to a mask optional learning community. Throughout the pandemic, we have remained committed to following measures of the virus's presence in our community and to the guidance that is supported by the science behind it. As we move into a new phase of addressing the challenges that have been presented to us by the virus, masks will now be encouraged, along with other protective measures such as frequent hand washing, regular deep cleaning, and ongoing monitoring for potential future surges of the virus in our community. In addition, please know that we are prepared to respond to the possibility of any future surges within our district. Individuals who wish to continue wearing masks at school or work will be supported in their decisions to do so. We are very aware that some of our staff and our students live with underlying health conditions or with someone who does. Because of this, we ask every Alhambra employee, every Alhambra student to respect and support the personal wishes of every individual and their decision to wear or not wear a mask at school or work. Recently, all staff received a video communication regarding our progress towards managing the virus and a return to a more normal state of operation. Arriving at this point where we are this evening has been a massive collaborative effort involving everyone in this room and beyond. And no matter your role, no matter your position in this district, you have contributed to this success. Thank you. Our COVID-19 surveillance team will continue reviewing the data, remaining ever vigilant and providing recommendations to our superintendents on a weekly basis as we have done throughout this school year. Now, this presentation would not be complete without me acknowledging the members of Alhambra's COVID-19 surveillance team. This group of individuals has met with me weekly without fail throughout this school year in order to retrieve and assess the data. The team studied the data, analyzed the potential impact of the virus on our district's students, staff, and neighborhoods, and following the science and the public guidance behind that data, provided recommendations to our leaders. Oftentimes, the surveillance team was in the position of knowing that their recommendations would not be popular recommendations, yet they never once hesitated to follow the data and the science that guided us, knowing their first responsibility was to the health and safety of Alhambra's people. Members of our district's surveillance team are Karen Stengel, Director, Whole Child Learning; Mark Liberty, Director, Human Resources; Gabriel Gamino, Director, Community Relations and Communications; Lynn Moriarty, BSN and Coordinator of Health Services; Brianna Kehoe, BSN and Health Assistant Supervisor. It's been a pleasure working alongside each of you, and thank you for all you have done and will continue to do. Subject to your questions or comments, that concludes this presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Rivero. Do we have any comments or questions from the our governing board member?
I would just echo what you said at the end of your speech or your presentation. Thank you to all of you who worked not only this year, but the year before this. I know you've spent hours and hours researching and making recommendations to us that will keep our staff and our students and their families at home safe. It's been a huge job, and I think the communication to us as board members, to the people in our community, and to our staff and our parents has been amazing. So thank you for all the hard work.
One of the last things that, or questions that I have is in terms of our testing centers. If we will have resources available for our community members to seek fast and easy testing within our zip codes. And also if we are exploring any partnerships with maybe the city of Phoenix or the city of Glendale to help us in terms of testing, since we're not able to continue with Embry Health. Could you speak on that?
Yes, absolutely. Fortunately, we do have another resource that we have in place through our VSU partnership, the sponsor of the vaccination clinics. They also regularly provide testing as a component of the vaccination clinic. So we have those. Those clinics occur typically every week and a half to 2 weeks. And we also have access to the testing clinics in the Phoenix Union High School District as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
You're
Appreciate
welcome.
it. All right, so we're moving to C, information items. C1, Global Academy of Phoenix update. GAP recently received their official authorization for the Primary Years Program, PYP. The Global Academy of Phoenix is now one of very few schools in Arizona to offer both PYP, Primary Years Program, and MYP, Middle Years Programs. Congratulations, and please join me in an applause for the Global Academy of Phoenix. Moving to D, public hearing, D1.
Comments on global.
Go ahead and see information item C1.
Again want to congratulate the staff over at the Global Academy of Phoenix. I remember the first meeting we had over there with the parents and how they were not exactly sure what we were talking about. The staff over there has just done an incredible job of growing their commitment, of learning how to become a global academy, and recruiting the families and bringing them online with that. I please share my congratulations with your staff and my appreciation for how they have worked so hard to come from where we were, what was that, 3.5, 4 years ago? Yeah, good work. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. De Ocampo, and once again, congratulations. Moving to D, public hearing. We will now start our second public hearing for the Girls Innovation Academy transition to Choice Learning Academy. This is the second of 2 required public meetings for the governing board to hear public comment on the proposed Alhambra Elementary School District restructure, reboundary, and/or school closure. Arizona law requires 2 public hearings. The first public hearing was held at the previous board meeting on March 24th, 2022, and included information of the proposed Girls Innovation Academy transition to Choice Learning Academy for school year 2022-2023. Members of the AESD administrative team will be available to answer board members' questions. And as of now, we do not have any public comment for this public hearing, but there is an opportunity for board members to ask any questions or to make any comments. Thank you. Moving to E, public comment. E1, public comment. We have received 1 public comment through email, and Ms. De Ocampo, our clerk, will read it.
Thank you. This is dated April 6, 2022. To Alhambra Elementary School District Governing Board Superintendent Dr. Cecilia Mize. My wife and I would like to thank and applaud you for all the continued hard work, planning, decision-making, and commitment that was necessary to maintain the in-person 2021-2022 school year in the safest way possible. As you meet to discuss the mask mandate, we hope that you will consider the following. As of this morning, the official COVID case count in Arizona for the past 7 days was 6,840 confirmed cases. average of 977 new cases per day. This only accounts for official tests, not the at-home tests, which are likely being used more frequently. As such, it is extremely likely that the confirmed cases are being underreported. The number of official deaths in the past 7 days is 413. Although cases have decreased significantly over the past month or so, the pandemic is not over, and people are still becoming ill with COVID. The children have done so well with rising to the challenges to keep them and their fellow classmates, faculty, families as safe as possible. Most notably, the consistent wearing of masks. With almost 1,000 new cases per day, we strongly believe that the mask mandate should remain in place for the remainder of the year. We are 6 weeks away from the end of the school year. This mandate has been successful for the most part, so we are curious as to why you would consider ending it now. Not once have our 2 children complained about having to wear a mask. In fact, they would prefer to wear a mask in school because they are still worried about catching COVID. Of course, we know that we still have the option for our children to wear masks, even if the mandate is lifted. However, after more than 2 years of being in the pandemic, we know that masks work best when everyone is in close contact is wearing one. Most people don't have the luxury of wearing new N95, KN95, or KF94, style masks every day. As the science changed, so did the masking suggestions. Most of the kids, like ours, are wearing the disposable surgical masks, better than cloth, inferior to KN95, etc. If the mandate is lifted and there are students sitting only a few feet away from each other, these masks will not provide as much protection, especially to those wearing them. We understand that many people are just ready to stop wearing masks, including some staff members who have expressed the same. The issue with this is that we have not even shifted from pandemic to endemic status. It's simply too early to lift the mandate. We must do everything possible to keep our children, staff, and family members safe. We implore you to continue with the mask for the duration of the school year. Thank you for your consideration. Rick and Carla Peloquin, parents of 2 ATS students, 4th and 6th graders. And I apologize if I didn't pronounce their name correctly.
Thank you, Ms. Del Campo. Moving to F, consent agenda. F1, approval of consent agenda items. I call for a motion that the governing board approve consent agenda items F2 through F8.
I move that we approve consent agenda F1 through F.
Do we have?
And-
Thank you, Ms. Del Campo. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. Moving to G, new business. G1, consideration of school boundary changes and/or school closure. I call for a motion that the governing board approve the Girls Innovation Academy transition to Choice Learning Academy effective at the beginning of the school year 2022-2023.
I move that we consider the movement of the the GIA to the Choice Learning Academy campus starting in the 2022-2023 school year.
Ms. Del Campo, your motion was to consider, I called for a motion to approve, just that word,
I'm sorry.
very important.
Reading it off of the agenda here, I apologize. I move that we approve the consideration of school boundary changes, as I stated before.
Thank you. Is there a second to approve?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. O'Neill France. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. Moving to H, H1, board policy, first reading of policy GCB, professional staff contracts and compensation. I call for a motion that the governing board approve the first reading of policy GCB, professional staff contracts and compensation.
I move that we approve the First reading of policy GCB.
Thank you, Mr. Solorio. Is there a second?
I second.
Thank you, Mr. Oropesa. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. H2, first reading of policy GCF, professional staff hiring. I call for a motion that the governing board approve the first reading of policy GCF, professional staff hiring.
I move that we approve the what, I'm sorry, that we, say that again?
I call for a motion that the governing board approve the first reading of policy GCF, professional staff hiring.
I call that we move to approve the first reading of policy GCF, professional staff hiring.
Thank you, Mr. Oropesa. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. De Ocampo. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Moving to H3, first reading of policy GCH, professional staff, support staff orientation and training. I call for a motion that the governing board approve the first reading of policy GCH, professional staff, orientation and training.
I move, and get this right. I move that we approve the first reading of policy GCH, professional support staff orientation and training.
Thank you, Ms. De Ocampo. Is there a second?
I second.
Thank you, Mr. Oropesa. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. No. Motion passes. H4, first reading of policy GDB, support staff contracts and compensation. Administration call for a motion that the governing board approve the first reading of policy GDB, support staff contracts and compensation.
I move that we approve the first reading of policy GCH, professional support staff. Oh, no. GDB, support staff contracts and compensation. I'm going to get one right by the end.
Thank you, Mr. Oropesa. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. De Ocampo. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. All right, we're in the home stretch with these policies. All right. First reading of policy GDF, support staff hiring. I call for a motion that the governing board approve the first reading of policy GDF, support staff hiring.
I move that we approve the first reading of policy GDF, support staff hiring.
Thank you, Mr. Oropesa. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. De Ocampo. All those in favor say aye.
I have a comment.
Aye. Oh, discussion?
It's okay. I just want to make sure that these have been thoroughly, that these are getting us up to date with what the regulations and rules are that have been passed. And that I'm assuming that Arizona School Board Association, along with our staff, has looked at these thoroughly and that they meet the requirements that are needed.
Yes, definitely, Ms. De Ocampo. They have been reviewed by not only ASBA, but also by our secretary and the superintendent and her administration.
Thank you.
All right, moving to I, comments and communication. I1, comments from governing board members.
I recently did a visit to Sevilla East and had the great pleasure of being part of a fire drill. Been a long time since I had been part of a fire drill. It was very well organized. I applaud the staff over there for their efficiency in exiting the building and getting back in when it was over with. It was very well done. It did cause me to think, though, as I was standing out there waiting to be called back in, to think about how we are utilizing the field at Sevilla West. We, now that we are kind of releasing some of the restrictions around COVID, I want to make sure that we are making that field available to the community as we promised when we first opened that field. My next piece of comments are about some questions I had about the agenda items on the agenda, and I want to commend Clara Perry for returning my phone call and answering my questions with great detail. one of the things I was concerned about was, and I still continue to be concerned about that, is we have such a shortage of substitute teachers, and our staff is being called constantly to cover when one of their colleagues is out. And I do know that we had on the consent agenda some reimbursement to make that a little less little less cumbersome for those people. We have provided some extra pay for the people that are covering these classes, and that includes our classified as well as our certified staff that are covering. It's not enough. These people are giving up their prep times. They're taking in extra students into their classroom. Some of our instructional assistants are taking over the responsibilities covering classrooms. We cannot thank them enough, and we certainly are not paying them enough to give up their time to do this. I am not sure that people even understand, as a classroom teacher, if all of a sudden you have 25 kids and 5 more kids from the class next door show up in your room because there was no substitute that day, what a huge responsibility that is. You might have to go find extra desks. You might have to find extra textbooks. I mean, it's just very, very unsettling. And I appreciate the fact that these teachers and the students too are adapting to these changes as we find that we do not have enough substitutes. So to summarize that is, yes, I realize that we give them $30 or $60 extra for this responsibility. I wish, as we look at the budget and for coming years, that we could give them more, because that is not enough for what they have given up to take on these extra responsibilities. Thank you.
I just want to commend, I was part of the groundbreaking for the new gym that's supporting several of our schools. And so I want to commend the groups that were behind that. I did that there, but that was not an easy process from all the way through. And so, I just want to thank all the people in business, the people in finance, and the people, everybody that was involved in that. Just want to thank them, and also thank them for my great shovel that I got and a hard hat. And so I was able to like play a construction worker for a little bit. And so, but where I was very encouraged to see all the schools come around, and I'm very encouraged to looking forward to the ribbon cutting ceremony as that gym gets built.
So I would like to thank our Healthy Teaching and Learning Committee for all of the work that you all have been doing throughout this pandemic. We are still doing it, right? We are in a different phase, but that does not mean that we're it does not mean that our mitigation is over to protect the health and safety of every single person here. I will probably be keeping my mask on because I do not want to shave before board meeting. So there's that. Thank you, Mr. Oropesa, and fellow governing board members, Dr. Mayas, and the entire team for everything that you've been doing to ensure that every kid and that every person matters. I just came back from the National School Board Association conference in San Diego this weekend, representing our district and representing Arizona, and really listening to the different things that are happening in other school districts, but also the point of pride when folks ask, how are things going in your district? And I say that things are going really well. Our team is dedicated and just really excited to, show off all the good work that's happening here. Some of the themes from the conference that I bring back with me is our mental, social, emotional health, and understanding the different strategies that are there. Also, working with other districts that are also really invested in educating the whole child and doing wraparound services. And so it was just a really good time to learn about leadership, but also understand that we're not in this alone. There's districts all across the country that are doing things similar to ours, and we can learn from them. But I feel like we have a lot to teach other districts as well. And then the ribbon, the groundbreaking ceremony. That was a really good experience in seeing all of the students from GAP and Valencia and the Alternative Learning Center of Alhambra. It's really good just to see that this is for them. This is for them, but also it's for their future brothers and sisters that aren't even born yet, and generations generations that are coming after that. And so with that, I just want to say thank you, everybody, for all the hard work that you've been doing. And Mr. Stinnett, I see you back there in the corner. Just want to say thank you for your service, and just a round of applause for Mr. Stinnett. We really appreciate you. Moving to I2, Governing Board Direction and/or Agenda Item Requests. One thing that I know we've talked about, Dr. Mayas, is our strategic plan, and just ensuring that we're constantly looking at that as a board and making sure that we're getting updates on it, but also, talking about it. And it's a very live document. It's not a document that we just want to put on our website and leave it there. I know that you all are doing the work every single day. So if we could just get an update on how things are going with our strategic plan, that would be good. Thank you. Moving to I3, comments from superintendent and executive team.
Good evening, everyone. This evening, we'd like to begin our updates with Melissa, if you can. Thank you.
Good evening, Governing Board President, Mr. Conchas, Governing Board members, Dr. Mayes. So we have a lot of fun and joyous things happening across our district. We have engineering competitions, dancing, and celebrations, and not necessarily in that order. At Sevilla West, the leaders of that campus, the student council, are organizing their pep rally for the end of the year and their 8th grade dance. Madrid joins them. They're getting ready for their 8th grade dinner and dance. They're in Sevilla West. Students in Miss Bilby's classroom are designing a ramp for bowling. And they went through the engineering process, and they to build and to launch wind-powered cars, which is pretty amazing. The Spartan 5th graders are learning to program drones and will fly them along self-designed flight paths. So duck. Also, at Madrid, they had their first in-person assemblies in what was like 2 years. So imagine how excited the kids felt coming together to celebrate those things. In their engineering world, they're using the 3D printers to make boats that they're going to compete in to see which boat stays above the water. But just having a lot of fun with those activities. At Carol G. Peck, they've had their first achievement assemblies in 2 years, and they're doing spelling bees and they're doing math bees, and they're getting every class involved, and then they're gonna have the competition at the school level. So very exciting. And then our Ed Services team, they had their second part of professional development on the essential standards work. And I just wanted to say it was so inspiring and impressive for me to hear just these conversations again, just rich about the standards, to hear our teachers and their expertise, and to hear them share, discuss, debate, and then collaborate on what they feel is best for kids. Wow, talk about just getting that motivation of how we're moving forward. So those are some great celebrations across our district. Thank you.
Thanks, Melissa. Mandy?
Thank you, President Conchas, members of the board, and Dr. Mayes. I'm pleased to share with you an update regarding our Family Resource Center on behalf of Yvette Nava, the manager of our center. And you can expect a regular update to be included in our upcoming board member bulletins. So as of September 2021, we have distributed 19 uniforms. That feels low, and that number is low because we have a surplus of uniforms available in our federal programs area, and we have been using those up first. We have given out 1,270 food boxes, and that benefited 6,550 individuals. Our clothing closet, which is supported by donations from our community and is open to anyone in need, has received 21 visits since September. and 74 students have been seen in our eye clinic. Our center, if you're not aware, also supports a lending library for our community and families, a Kith and Kin partnership that provides early childhood training to our families. Rehoboth Community Development Corporation provides financial wellness support and also support for affordable housing, and also supports the Keogh Health Connection which helps families apply for Access, SNAP, TANT, Kids Care, Marketplace, such things. So you can expect a regular update to those numbers to be included in your board member bulletin, but I am very pleased that even coming out of a pandemic, we have served and supported a lot of families and a lot of kids. Another, in response to a question from our board related to investigating solar covered parking, we have a meeting set up with a company called Verigy to explore these options, and data from SRP has been collected to see if there is room for us to actually save based on our compensation and usage. And so the Verigy company will be assessing that data for us and submitting a formal proposal to see if we can save with that initiative. It is also important to note that our previous QSAB partnership or performance contract has saved us about $300,000. So that is nice to know. In alignment with our 5-year strategic plan and the goal of family and community engagement, I am very excited to join Alana Ragland with our parent volunteer coordinators. It's tomorrow, this Friday. On Friday, we are looking to start the work that is outlined in our 5-year strategic plan year 1 by reestablishing that role now that things are opening up a little better and we can start bringing in our families and our parents to take advantage of their unique contributions to our district. And then on behalf of the Alhambra Education Partnership, I want to remind you of the golf tournament, and I'm excited to share that the board did approve that the proceeds from this year's event will be devoted to support staff and student wellness initiatives in alignment with our 5-year strategic goal related to conditions, culture, and climate. Thank you.
Thank you, Mandy. And I'm excited for you and Alana to work with our parent volunteer coordinators. I know I've been working with them and they are very anxious to get back to working with our parents. As a matter of fact, I had the honor of stopping by Sevilla West's fundraiser last night at Peter Piper Pizza. And as soon as I walked in, the parents started calling me over, and they wanted me to sit down and they wanted to ask me, when can we get back in our school? And they were proud to share the various things that they had accomplished, years ago when they first got started. And Lydia, the parent volunteer coordinator, was just really excited. And so I'm excited to hear, because as you mentioned, one of the components is family and community, and our responsibility to partner and empower our parents. And so we're really excited to be able to do that and to get to know our parents better and just for them to join us alongside us as we serve their children. I too want to thank the COVID-19 surveillance team, and I know how hard all have been working, and as Michael expressed, just the difficult decisions the entire time. And so, and again, just our commitment to student safety, and I appreciate that we truly have been following data and really understanding and allowing the science to guide us. And so again, I just want to thank everyone for their support, knowing that it's not over. And yes, we will continue to look at school data and respond accordingly, and just continue to collaborate and keep our kids and community safe. Regarding the strategic plan, we've been talking a lot, and I see Raul out there. I know him and I are becoming best friends as we work through the teaching and learning aspects of the strategic plan. And we've been, we had been communicating with a number of districts and trying to learn from them related to what our stakeholders wanted regarding teaching and learning. They want more training, they want collaboration, they want, which is why they've enjoyed the last couple of Wednesdays. We've gotten great feedback from the last couple early release Wednesdays. And I'm excited to tell you, this is very early stages, but I still want to share this with you because, again, talking to other districts and sharing with them the work that we're doing because of our strategic plan. One of a colleague in another district said, what was a huge help to our district they were sharing was Project Momentum. And she said, it sounds too good to be true, but they will give you money to pay your teachers to collaborate and train. And that they will give you the money. It sounds too good to be true, but they will. And so anyways, we we met with Project Momentum and they see our commitment. And so they are drafting a plan now that we're looking forward to reviewing with our legal counsel, but it includes $3 million over the next 2 years, $1.5 million each year that we'll be able to use to compensate our staff as they engage in the work outlined in the strategic plan. And so we're really, really excited about that. And like I said, you'll hear more as we continue to collaborate, but we've been spending a lot of time on that. And then one thing you can look forward to as well, I know our educational services team out there has been working really hard with our leaders at our schools to plan a wonderful enrichment, academic and enrichment summer school program. And so, and they are looking forward to sharing with you more about that at our next governing board meeting. And finally, I want to share, I had the pleasure of honoring our 2 recent national board certification. They went up for their renewal. And if you're familiar with the national board certification, it's a very rigorous process. And we had Dustin Mans from Westwood, PE teacher at Westwood, and Jill Body, one of our coaches through educational services. And so Saturday, they attended the Accomplished Teaching celebration honoring them. And I was blessed to be sitting next to them and get to know them and better and just to really celebrate the accomplishment. So it was an honor. And so that concludes. And so again, thank you all out there. I know you're all working hard for our kids. And I just am thankful for everyone, the hard work we're doing for our community. So good night. I know, and I'm looking right at you too. Okay. Yes. So Claire, if you can go ahead and introduce our special guest, a new member of our administrative team, our newest member.
President Conchas, Governing Board members, Dr. Maya. With the approval this evening of the consent agenda, we're approving our newest member of our leadership team for the Westwood community. They've selected their outreach coordinator for the 22 school year. I'd like to introduce you to her now. Ms. Garcia, our newest outreach coordinator at Westwood School.
Mr. President, members of the governing board, and Dr. Mays. Sorry, I'm short. It is with great honor and excitement that I accept the outreach coordinator position at Westwood Elementary School. During my 5 years at Westwood Elementary School, I've been given the opportunity to get to know the staff, students, families, and community members. I've had the privilege to teach first grade for 2 years and fourth grade for 3 years. Each set of students and grade levels brought about new challenges and opportunities to strengthen who I am as an educator. I've also had the privilege to be the student council sponsor at Westwood. Through this, I was able to build up student leaders and create a culture of community at our school. I've had the opportunity to use my leadership skills to restructure the TAT team at our school. And through this, I've been able to work alongside different teachers and staff to support students that are in need of extra support. I'm also a member of the AVID site team, which I believe holds great responsibility because of the importance to prepare students now for their future. I worked building my leadership capacity by joining committees through the district. I worked on the fourth grade distance learning pacing guides committee, the 212 Teacher Wednesday committee, and the 5-year strategic planning regarding how Alhambra is going to work in the next 5 years for the future. I've learned many valuable skills from each person I've had the pleasure to work with, and I'm excited to apply those skills into the new position. Serving students is my #1 priority, and I cannot wait to do this in a new capacity. School was a place I felt safe and flourished due to the support of my teachers and administrators, and I cannot wait to return that to the students that I'm serving. I would like to thank my mentors, the Westwood staff, and my family for their support and my growth as a leader. I would also like to thank the Alhambra District for the ample number of opportunities I've had to grow myself as a person, an educator, and a leader. Thank you again for this opportunity and privilege to serve Westwood and the Alhambra District. Thank you.
And I apologize, I left that out. And so congratulations to Angelica. We know you've touched a number of lives as the children have been in your classroom, and now we look forward to you being on our administrative team, touching even more lives. So thank you.
What would we do with that, Daniel? We would missing all kinds of things.
All right, so we are moving to J, meeting closing. J1, next governing board meeting. The next regular governing board meeting will be held on April 21st, 2022. J2, calendar of events. AESD Native American Program End of Year Celebration is May 3rd, 2022. At Sevilla Elementary School at 5 p.m. The Alhambra Education Partnership Golf Tournament is May 5th, 2022 at the Grand Canyon Golf Course. Here it's at 7 a.m., so I'm not sure if I'll be there. The governing board retreat is going to be May 26th at 5 p.m. And then 8th grade promotions, each governing board member has been provided a schedule for those, so I will not be reading all of them. And moving to J3, adjournment. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I move we adjourn.
Thank you, Mr. Oropesa. Do we have a second? Thank you, Mr. Solorio. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion passes. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.